everybody, and welcome to the 32nd Annual Martin Luther King Oratory Competition, co-sponsored by the law firm of Foley Lardner and the Dallas Independent School District. And I am thrilled to welcome you to SMU's McFarland Auditorium.
So how did our 8 courageous finalists get to this stage, this historic stage today? This competition started with 20 DISD participating schools. More than 80 students submitted videos for the in-school competitions. Our friends at Foley Lardner judged the semifinal speeches, and these 8 very talented, very well-dressed, and very fearless finalists were selected. It's a tremendous accomplishment to have reached this historic stage today.
If Dr. King were to reflect on the 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech, would he be optimistic, disappointed, or troubled with society and the entitlement that comes with it? Is it a dream deferred? Will Langston Hughes agree? Dr. King dreamed he saw the mountaintop and the Negroes would be free from poverty, discrimination, and injustices. Over the last 60 years, would agree with the Karens in this world? Dr. King would reflect on the civil rights leaders who emerged like Ben Crump, picking up the baton to continue pursuing the dream he spoke about 60 years ago. Police brutality took place in the sweltering heat of the South, but still today in Alabama, brothers and sisters came together for one another, kicking and screaming with a folding chair. Dr. King could reflect and say, "My brothers and sisters, we have work to do." But Yusuf Salam showed the Negro that they have something to vote for.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zayden Vaughn, a 4th grader at Frederick Douglass Elementary. How would Dr. King reflect on his 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech? Dr. King will remind us that his I Have a Dream speech was one of hope, and for his children and all children shall not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He would tell us that violence toward people of color, that injustice still lives in the legal system. He would tell us that we can never be satisfied as long as people of color endure police brutality. He would tell us that we can never be satisfied as long as our bodies cannot live in safe neighborhoods. He would tell us that we cannot be satisfied as long as homeless people have to live on the streets. He would tell us that no family shall be evicted from their home because they can't pay their rent or mortgage. He would tell us that we can never be satisfied as long as our children have to walk down alleys or streets filled with alcoholics, drug addicts, and gun violence. I, too, have heard gunshots at my apartments more than twice. I am shocked and surprised that in the still of the night, danger lurks. Nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people, not evil people. He would tell us that we can never be satisfied as long as our children of color are stripped of the chance to have a free public education. We cannot be satisfied as long as our children of color do not understand the importance that one day they must vote for an individual of their choice to represent the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. He will say today, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, still dream. He would say that his dream is rooted in the American dream. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men shall be treated equally. Dr. Martin Luther King will say to continue to tell all people about his dream to make the world a better place for all people. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashana Khanna from Solar Preparatory School for Girls. My friends, I say to you today that even though we face difficulties from the past, I stand here today to proudly acknowledge the progress that has been made to overcome these issues. First of all, let's discuss Dr. King's speech, I Have a Dream, which reflects on a dream of unity, racial equality, and justice. Here are some inspiring words from his speech. He said, no, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. He said, I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of your trials and tribulations. He said, some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. We were reminded that you have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. So as we have gone back to Mississippi, back to Alabama, back to South Carolina, to Georgia and Louisiana, we have gone back to the slums and ghettos of our modern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can, will, and has been changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you, my friends, we have difficulties today and tomorrow. Yes, I believe that Dr. King's dream is true. He had a dream, and I too have the same dream. And yes, it is deeply rooted in the American dream. He had a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal. Dr. King had a dream that one day, out in the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down at a table of brotherhood. Dr. King had a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. Dr. King had a dream that his 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by their character. All of the world, these inspiring words motivate people to understand and respect others. If he were still alive today, Dr. King would still prioritize unity, racial equality, and justice to continue to change the world. Thank you.
How would Dr. King reflect on the 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech? Well, let's talk about Dr. King's dream the way he did and in a way that everybody can understand. Let's talk about money. In his speech, he said, "We've come to our nation's capital to cash a check." That check he was talking about is freedom, prosperity, and peace. While many people have a positive amount in the bank for these things, minorities see a negative amount in their bank account. Dr. King said about the Declaration of Independence that black men as well as white men would be guaranteed to unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is also a form of money that many people get paid a lot, but if you look a certain way, your money is no good. Dr. King dreamed of a day that everybody, no matter your skin color, religion, or gender, could go to the bank of freedom, prosperity, and peace, and have more than enough to live their lives the way that they're promised. People every day are told no because of the way they look. They are punished for crimes they did not commit, told they are not good enough for jobs, not accepted into top colleges, and that they cannot live in nice neighborhoods. When Dr. King was alive, he saw many people living with these problems. Here we are, 55 years after his death, and still many Americans are living with the same problems. Dr. King called this a bad check, a check which just came back marked insufficient funds. He did not fight and die for Americans to be socially and morally broke. There's a song that I like that comes from the movie Selma. The song is called Glory by Common and John Legend. One of my favorite parts of the song goes, "Now the war is not over, victory isn't won, then we'll fight on to the finish. Then when it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory." This reminds me that there is still hope. It's time to go back to the bank and make things right. Dr. King said, "We refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation." It's all up to us to say something when someone is treated wrong. Dr. King reminded us that our money was as good as everyone else's when he said, "We have a check that will give us upon the demand of riches, freedom, and the security of justice." Today is our payday. If someone says you're not good enough, say no, it's my payday. If someone calls you bad names, say no, it's my payday. If someone says you can't have this job, say no, it's my payday. If someone says you have the wrong skin color, say no, it's my payday. If someone says you can't live here, say no, it's my payday. If someone says you can't go to this top college, say no, it's my payday. How would Dr. King reflect on the 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech? I think that if he was still alive, he would tell us that it is now time to speak up and claim our money from the bank of freedom, prosperity, and peace. Today is our payday. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jairus Hopkins Swanson. I'm a 5th grade tag scholar at the Thomas Tobin Elementary School. My name, Jairus, means God in lines. As I represent the meaning of my name, I will enlighten you in the next few minutes on what I believe Dr. King's reflection will be of the foundation and the blueprint he left behind. We've all heard the speech, "I have a dream," and taken meaning from Dr. King's message. But the question I pose today is, what would Dr. King's reflection be of the foundation and the blueprint he left behind? Well, I think that he would be proud of some of the world's changes since the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. He would see the impact and the work from his sacrifice, but he would say, we are still not there. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was intended to end discrimination based on color, race, religion, or national origin in the United States. It prevented housing discrimination based on race, sex, national origin, and religion. It improved educational opportunities and even granted legal protections of rights and freedoms for African Americans. I believe he will ponder, are we there yet? The Civil Rights Act is empowering, yet we still witness issues and division all around us. Even with the Civil Rights Act in place in 2023, the law does not always stop nor punish those who choose to discriminate against men and women unfairly. I believe Dr. King would still say the Bank of Justice is bankrupt and encourage us to continue to stand up and demand equality. I think Dr. King might say we must do better. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment gave citizenship to all people born in the U.S., and the 15th Amendment gave Black Americans the right to vote. However, today in 2023, several states are trying to pass bills to limit the power of the minority vote. For example, many states are enforcing strict voter ID laws and cuts to early voting. Dr. King's view on this issue? Definitely not good. Dr. King spoke in his I Have a Dream speech of people not being judged by the color of their skin. He would be pleased knowing a black man became president of these United States, and presently a black female is serving as vice president. Dr. King's speech became a blueprint of hope instead of a cry of despair. His core value was to end discrimination. He wanted peace and for people to not judge each other based on skin color, their hair, their names, or even the neighborhood they lived in. Most recently, the Crown Act was passed. The acronym means to create a respectful and open world for natural hair. The passage of this act is another example of light that keeps Dr. King's dream a trending topic. I feel Dr. King's reflection of the past 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech would be for us to keep wearing our crowns as kings and queens and continue to keep the dream alive. In closing, Dr. King simply wanted equality for all people. Today, if Dr. King was reflecting off of racial equality, poverty, and low wages, I believe he will repeat this quote: "What good is having the right to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford to buy a hamburger?" What do I feel Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s reflection of the past 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech would be? I envision him saying, "We have unfinished business." Thank you for the personal privilege of speaking to you today. I am Jairus Hopkins Swanson, a 5th grade tag scholar at the Thomas Tolbert Elementary School.
Hi, my name is Ariel Stratton. I am in 4th grade at Elijah M. Peace Elementary School. If Dr. King were alive today, he would reflect on his own words and make connections to the world we live in today. 60 years ago, Dr. King said, when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to follow heir. This note is a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, will be guaranteed the human rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Dr. King protested peacefully for human rights, life, and liberty, and all people are not able to pursue positions as high as the Supreme Court and the executive branch of the United States government. 60 years later, 2 of the most powerful positions in the United States are held by black women: Vice President Kamala Harris and Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. These women have been placed in positions to uphold the Constitution and the human rights guaranteed to all people. 60 years later, Dr. King would say, so much progress, so many of my prayers were answered. It's a beautiful thing to see all races being able to unify, work together in political offices, go to school, and eat together. What a mighty long way we've come. Yet, I look around and see that there is still so much progress to be made. Equality is something that we all deserve, yet we're still fighting for today. My brothers and sisters, I see your fight, and I encourage you to keep going. Keep knocking down those barriers. For if God has brought us this far, he will continue to carry us. My dreams have came true, and so can yours.
Hello, my name is Ivan Stonda, a 4th grader from Arturo Salazar Elementary School. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights leader and an American minister. Dr. King changed the nation by demanding that black people be treated with dignity and respect. Dr. King told others that everyone should be judged, not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Dr. King's dream still lives today, 60 years later. Dr. King's dream is working in the lives and in the hearts of American citizens today. In the words of Zahir Douglas, you can kill the dreamer, but not the dream. And I see Dr. King's dream working today because everyone has the right to sit in the seat they want, not only on the bus, but in movie theaters and restaurants. I see Dr. King's dream working when students of different races can interact and learn at the same schools. I see Dr. King's dream working when we can enter the same pools and swim together. I see Dr. King's dream working when people have the right to vote to make our communities better. I see Dr. King's dream working when black leaders can become the president of the United States of America. We know the dream is still working, but if Dr. King was alive today, he would be upset to see mass shootings, human trafficking, and drugs. He would be upset to see this because innocent lives are being lost. It would anger him to see innocent people being kidnapped and drugs infiltrating our communities. He would roll over in his grave if he knew some of the same things that were happening 60 years ago are still happening today. But then there's me. I can keep the dream alive. I will live out Dr. King's dream by stopping bullying. I'll remind people at my school and in my community to treat people like you want to be treated. Wasn't that Dr. King's dream? To advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves? To be a big brother to those who need it? To make sure we are all treated like people? My dream connects to Dr. King's dream. I will treat others with respect. I will show my community, my friends, my schoolmates that simple dream can change the world for the better. Today, 60 years later, we are Dr. King's dream, and we can keep his dream alive 60 years to come. Thank you.
Dr. King's reflections on the 60 years since his I Have a Dream speech would be absolutely appalling. He will probably say, I am not satisfied where we are. Our nation still needs to rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Good morning. I'm Kennedy Smith, and I'm in the 5th grade at Charles Rice Learning Center. Just pondering over a few events I have read about have been tough to digest as a student. The dream for justice and social change have come a long way since the civil rights movement. However, there's still work to be done. Everything he has fought for has not been accomplished. He hoped that his dream would be a reality and not just a dream. Dr. King will reflect on how he fought so hard for nonviolence. Violence is immortal because it thrives on hatred rather than love. It destroys communities and makes brotherhood impossible. Violence ends up defending itself. In a real sense, nonviolence seeks to cure mortal ends to mortal means. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon. He will reflect on the ideas that gun control is totally out of control. People are allowed to carry them in schools, churches, malls, and several other public places. Scary? My thoughts exactly. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. As he reflects upon what is going on now, he will be aware the human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. It takes a time's effort and passionate concern of dedicated individuals to make America a success. He would see the Black Americans are working towards opportunities that were once available for us many years ago. These opportunities are not being fulfilled. We must take advantage of the open doors and be who we are meant to be. When opportunities knock, we must answer. This will be a true reflection of things today that Dr. King will want. We cannot sit around and think it's not the right thing to do, because it is. My generation must make his dream a reality. I see myself reflected in Dr. King as I grow into an unbreakable, fierce person in society. I know one day, when I come against brick walls, I'll be able to find the doors and walk right through them based on my own abilities. I will use my leadership skills, demonstrated by my family and teachers, when I'm old enough to vote. Our voices are powerful. We must exercise our rights to vote by going to the polls. Dr. King would say that's the right way to get things done properly and in order. Now, I ask you, how much longer will it take us to resemble the dreams of Dr. King? Look in the mirror and ask yourself.
It's time to announce our top three. The third place winner is Kennedy Smith from Charles Rice Learning Center. Our second place award goes to Jairus Hopkins Swanson from Thomas Colbert Elementary School. The winner of our 32nd annual Foley Lardner MLK Jr. Oratory Competition is Aiden Bodie.
These kids are up here giving speeches that are powerful, that are imaginative, they are forceful voices for the future. They are our future leaders.
My favorite part is just attending for Martin Luther King's place and the very place that he stood once. I just feel just like Martin Luther King, somebody who saves the world and changes rights and let freedom ring.